everybody? It's your 5-star realtor, Joshua Ingram, partnered with Page Properties team, brokered by EXP. You may know me on the Dream Builders podcast with my special guest, Bradford Page. But today, we're just having a table talk, talking about bridging the divide. I have a special guest, Bradford Page with Page Properties team, Glynn Horne. How you doing, Glynn? And then we got Monica Everett. How you doing today? And we're going to go ahead and have a talk about our differences and how we all became friends.
So Glynn and I met first, and we actually met on a dare. And I will say that because that's basically what happened. We met because I was told that I wouldn't be able to be friends with him. And when we met, we instantly connected. It was just a connection that I didn't expect, because I had heard some things, and then, but did not let that hinder my decision to get to know him. So when we met, it was just an instant connection.
Well, I know, thinking back to the exact time it clicked and everything, since we're not in court, I don't really remember the day and the time, but I do remember the reaction that I had with her, because we had some things in common. She was in the Air Force, my father retired military Air Force, and so we kind of had a little bit of a common ground there. But it was the fact that I could talk to her about anything, and she would take it in and come back and wouldn't tell me I was totally crazy. So, and as we continue to be around one another over the years, just knowing we're there for one another, and that we can rely on one another. And I'm old school, so I like words like loyalty and devotion.
Developing relationships takes time, and it takes recognizing that there are more similarities than differences, and I think a lot of times we focus on our differences rather than focusing on the similarities. And so I decided that I was going to take time. I take time to nurture, and then after a while, if it doesn't work out, after a while, then it doesn't work out. You just keep it moving. But he would just call and say, "Hey, just want to say, hey, love you, boo," or "Hey, let's go eat." And that was it.
Too, I think the biggest thing is taking an effort, making an effort to reach out to one another and keep up with one another, because the world we live in today, we want it right away. We want it, so we make friends. We're supposed to be friends forever right away. That doesn't work. What works is when one or the other says something. My motto has always been just take a chew on it. Give it a minute before you give a reaction to something that might have just been said to you. Because
especially if you want to get your back up a little bit. That's when you're going to go, whoa.
Because then you think to yourself, one of my mottos has always been, is what we're talking about right now going to affect me a year from now? And if it's not, then why don't you just take the back seat and hush and let that be? Because when you need it, then you can call.
He's never outspoken about it.
No.
Proper Glynn is not there to speak his mind.
No, I'll be talking, but at the same time, whatever may have been said that may have offended or got you a little flustered, just put it aside for a minute.
So we have obviously had differences, and we have discussed those differences in a way that we recognize at the end of the day we still are going to love each other as friends, and those differences are not going to stop that. And there's been some times where I'm like, you are absolutely out of your mind and just wrong. And he's just like, well, that's fine, that's who I am. And that's how he is. But then there's over time, I have seen some of his opinions from the beginning of time that with us hanging out to
start changing,
slowly, gradually saying, let me chew on that for a minute, think that through. And instead of just saying this is the way I believe, he'll start asking questions. And he may not necessarily change what he believes, but at least he's taken that step to ask, and that's respecting what I believe. Respecting each other, regardless of our differences, is, I think, the reason why we're friends. and there are some major differences, but we have more similarities, and I think we choose to focus on that instead of the differences.
Yes.
Be willing to extend yourself when something happens, or you have some. Because to be honest with you, I don't really. We talk about it as if we have major issues, but the way in which we deal with it is not shutting off one another or unfriending them on Facebook because we're so upset. There's none of that going on. And if we want to talk to one another, if we have an issue, we don't, which I encourage, don't text. Because a lot of people text these days, but we call and talk, or we'll say, let's get together and have something to eat. Just because having food together kind of softens that so that it's easier, more palatable. So I think a lot of that has to do, even with Brad. We've partnered up on some things. And when we do, obviously there's differences of opinion when you got money involved. Yeah. But instead of letting it tear us apart, we look apart, because I've learned a lot from both of them. They both have helped me to be a better person. And I think that's what you got to look for. I think you have to put in your mind, people put up with you. Yeah. Okay. So these two put up with me, and as a result, it makes it easier for me to put up with them, because that's what it's all about. Is us all putting up with one another. You can cornbread it and break it down 9 different ways, but the bottom line is you have to make an effort. You got to be willing to speak your mind and not hold back and not be false. And that way, people are drawn to you. If you'll just be quiet and let them do their talking and just encourage them.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all so much for coming on to Bridging the Divine. Again, if you want more information, stay tuned to our podcast. The Dream Builders Podcast, we're here to help buyers, sellers, agents, and small businesses reach their real estate goals. Just love helping people and building friendships. Y'all be safe, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.